What's going on, everybody? It's Joe, and we're back for an Acceptable Casualties battle report. I know it's been a while, but here's one for y'all. So we're doing Battlegroup 400 points of Barbarossa. We'll be back in a second to go over the lists and deployment. All right, so here we have our roughly 350 points of Soviets. So we're gonna go down right here. We have our forward HQ. He has a gas jeep. Over here we have a motor rifle platoon. That's gonna be 4 squads with the command team right there. Then for support, we took a Maxim machine gun. We took an anti-tank rifle. We have the infantry field gun, the 76 millimeter, and then we have a 45 millimeter anti-tank gun with tow. Back over here we have a forward observer, and they also have the Jeep. Behind them we have a 2-man 82 millimeter mortar battery. Next to them you can see the land battleship, the T-35. We also took 2 T-28s, and then for some of our defenses we took 2 sets of foxholes right there. So obviously that's one set, that's another set for 10 guys each. And then back there we also took another Ziz truck we're going to be using as a roadblock / barricade. So altogether, this is roughly 350 points, maybe a little bit less, and then the battle rating is going to be 24, so we'll be back a second to look over the Germans. So here we have our 400 points of Germans. They have a battle rating of a 36. So down here we have the forward HQ, and he's also in a half track. Over here we have 1 Schutzen platoon. Obviously we have platoon command there, his half track. We have the 3 Schutzen squads right here that are split up in the rifle teams and the MG34s, and they each have their own half track. They're all armed with anti-tank grenades as well. For their support, we ended up putting a medic in the list, a heavy machine gun team, and then a medium mortar team. Over here we have a Panzer II squadron, we have a Panzer III squadron, and above them for recce, we end up taking a 222 scout car. So altogether, like I said, this is 399. There's also a Ju-87 timed airstrike in the list right here. So as we're looking at for the Germans, we'll be back in a second to go over deployment. All right, so we are back for deployment. Just a rundown of what we're playing. We're not playing a scenario out of the book. This is kind of just going to be 1941 outside of Kiev. We have a supply depot here and a train station back there, and this is kind of just the Russians looking to hold the line until we can evacuate all of our supplies and get them loaded up on the train. So if this goes to turn 12, which it might, we'll see how it goes, but if it goes to turn 12, it'll just stand as a Russian victory, as a way of saying that they were able to load up the train here and have an exit out. So they're gonna lose this area, but they just want to get out as much as they can before the Germans roll in and they don't have anything left to take. So that's kind of what the scenario is. So there's going to be an objective on this hill, an objective inside the warehouse right here, and then another objective on that hill. They're all going to start in my hands. Vin's not going to have to pull chits for them, just all kind of Soviet objectives to start, and then Vin's going to have to make his push, and that's where he can kind of score some objective points if he wants to do that. So we'll do my deployment first, and then we'll get into Vin's. So on this flank down here, we have those foxholes that we talked about earlier from the list. There's 1 rifle squad in here and then an anti-tank rifle as well. So that's 10 guys there. So that's the use of these foxholes that are holding this position here. Inside down here, I have the 76 millimeter infantry gun, the Maxim machine gun, and then the forward observer. Over here, we have another rifle squad in the foxholes. Behind them, we have our mortar battery, and then behind that was the gas jeep that's going to be parked here on the table. Up here on the road as well, there's going to be our roadblock there with the Ziz truck. We ended up setting it up for this. 50% of your units are on the table, so I have 7 units that are on the table right now. Some came on with transport, so obviously they come together. Same thing with the battery. Off table, I have coming in reserves. I'll be able to start coming in on turn 3. I have 2 rifle teams, platoon command, that 45 millimeter with the truck. My forward HQ, I got the T-35 land battleship and the 2 T-28s. They're all eligible to start coming in on turn number 3. For Vin, he ended up bringing in, his deployment zone is 12 inches in. So down here he has one of his infantry half tracks. Actually, you loaded up with infantry half tracks, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so Vin's infantry squads are in here with the half tracks. You got 2 of the Panzer IIs here. We also have a recce vehicle down here. the 222. Vin's medium mortars back there in the high grass. Up over here, we have one of his Panzer IIIs, as well as 2 more of the infantry half-tracks. You got anybody else on the table, Vin?
Yeah, I have a spotter.
Oh, and then Vin has his 1 spotter. Is it what, your forward HQ or
Medic?
Medic? I don't think Medic can't spot.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
No, yeah, Medic can't spot. You can switch in and put another unit. So that's what Vin's looking at right here. So Vin's gonna be able to start pulling in reserves on turn number 1, and he has Panzer Marsch. So I expect this to get a little crazy. That's why the deployment zone is so far back, because Vin's going to get a pretty overwhelming force on the table. Kind of started off right here. So we'll be back in a flash for top of turn 1 for the Germans. So we are back for top of turn 1 for the Germans. So for this one, Vin ended up rolling up 8 orders, and he got in 3 reserves. For his reserves, he brought in another one of his half-tracks. He brought in another one of his Panzer IIIs. And then who else did you walk on, Vin?
It was those 2. And the only thing that came in was the heavy machine gun into...
Oh, okay, yeah, and then then a heavy machine gun and a half-track. All right, so yeah, that was Vin's reserves. For his orders, he had 8. So for his first couple moves down here, you can see the 2 Panzer IIs and the half-track. They were previously back there. They just pushed up through the grass fields over here. The 2 half-tracks, supported by that Panzer III, they kind of pushed up the road to this point right here. They haven't fired or anything. Vin's just trying to get like a united front, pushing in this half of the table over there. For Vin's last 2 orders, he observed with his commander. Vin tried to drop that mortar bombardment from that medium mortar team here, ended up scattering over to here. With Vin's 2 dice rolls, he was able to get 2 pin attempts over here. 1 failed, and then I had to make 1 save on the anti-tank rifle. I ended up passing with a 4-up because he's in the foxholes. So kind of got off lucky on that one. So a lot of maneuvering and positioning here. Assuming Panzer March is going to be next turn, and we'll kind of see everybody come on the table for Vin. So we're coming back for the bottom of turn 1 for the Soviets. Time to get the boys set up for defense. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 1 for the Reds. This one didn't have a lot of orders to work with for Command Chaos. I only getting 1 order out of my officers. Then I rolled 5 orders for my my other dice. So I had 6 orders in total. Really, all I did here was put these 2 guys in ambush. Well, just go be specific here. 1 rifle team, anti-tank rifle, that's on top of this hill. The infantry gun, they're in ambush. The Maxim machine gun, also in ambush. I attempted to range in with my spotter here and use my mortars, but the communications ended up failing. I rolled a 1. I was going to try to drop bombardment over there on Vin's HQ, but like I said, it didn't go off. And then my last orders, I ended up putting those guys right there in ambush as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at right here. Like I said, I don't get reserves until bottom of turn 3. The reason I wasn't in ambush or anything as the game started, because we kind of played it so like these guys were a little bit caught off guard, more focused on loading up the trains than they were about digging in and really making a solid defensive position here. So that's what we're looking at right now, going into top of turn 2 for the Germans. I expect to see the remainder of Vin's reserves get on the table here, and then it's going to start getting ugly. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn number 2. Top of turn number 2. So this turn, Vin was able to, obviously got all of his reserves on the table, used Panzer Marsch. I think he only had 2 units to use anyway. And then he ended up rolling boxcars for his orders, which was enough to activate everybody. So what ended up happening over here, and also, since Vin had Recce last turn, I had to pull it shit. It was ammo low, so I tried to play it on the mortar team down here, but Vin rolled a 1 on the table, so they're actually okay, no damage done. So let's get back to what the turn happened over here. So Vin ended up pushing up this half-track and then that Panzer II from the table edge out of reserve and got them over to this point here. The guys that were here, Vin pushed them up to the lip right there. The 2 Panzer IIs failed to observe down here. I tried to return fire with my anti-tank rifle there. We don't play pre-measuring here. The distance from there to here was 20¼ inches, so no dice on the old PTRD on that one. That was kind of unfortunate. Vin then dismounted both of his units that were in this half-track here to there. When they got up to the edge right there, I actually unloaded with my rifle team over there. I was able to kill 2 Germans down here, But Vin obviously is not pinned. He ended up passing the morale test pretty well and was pretty good on that. Up over here, the two half tracks that were there, they both pushed up to here. Vin ended up dismounting and dropping his infantry off behind the Ziz roadblock. I don't have any real lanes to kind of shoot him at, so he's kind of just dug in right there. This half track here, they rolled up. They tried to fire down and pin my anti-tank, the infantry gun there, to no avail. Same thing with the Panzer III earlier in the turn. As you can see, he's pinned. When he came up to this position here, this was before this half track moved, I was able to fire a round down there, and I actually hit him with the infantry gun. It was enough to force a morale test. Vin rolled a 2. These guys ended up getting pinned. The other Panzer IIIs, they ended up pushing up over to this side of the table over here, and then with Vin's mortars, he failed to spot with his command, and then with the scout car, he tried dropping mortars down here, but they ended up scattering off the table. At the end of the turn, Vin did pull it shit, and he is unpinning that guy, just so you all know. So let's get this off. Panzer III is back in action. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 2 for the Reds. Got to hold off one more turn. Hopefully I'll get that land battleship in soon, so we'll be back in a flash. So we're back for bottom of turn 2 for the Reds. For this one, I ended up getting 3 for my command chaos, and then I rolled 9 orders with my dice, so it was 12, way more than I needed. For this one, I ended up opening up. I used my spotter to try to drop mortar bombardment down here with those 282 millimeters, but I ended up scattering back to here. It was enough to get the 2 Panzer IIIs in. I had 2 pin attempts on each of them, but nothing stuck. I needed 6s. Then I ended up using my 45 millimeter right here. We ended up pinning the half track and the guys in it, obviously. And then the second shot, I tried to blow it up, but I failed to hit on that one. I also had my gas jeep back here from the observer team. I ended up actually wheeling that out. Actually, I can't wheel that out because it needs to have people in it. So the gas jeep is actually back here. Don't worry about it. Back on this side, I put the anti-tank rifle back into ambush because I really don't have a target here. I'm just going to kind of use them as a deterrent to maybe hold the line for a little bit more. For my rifle team here, I tried to fire down and pin both of Vin's units. I was able to get a pin attempt on the MG34 team right there, but we're calling this kind of like soft cover, so it's a 5-up save if you're in it. Vin ended up getting a 5 on the save roll, so they are not pinned. I ended up failing to do anything to the actual rifle team, the remnants of the rifle team. I ended up holding those guys over there. They're still in ambush. And that's really all that I had on the table. I couldn't really use all my orders, so like I said, next turn I got some reserves coming in, so hopefully I can strengthen the line a little bit. We'll be back for the top of turn 3. Vin has everybody on the table, so what you see is what you get. So we'll see how this plays out. Be back. So we are back to top of turn 3 for the Jerrys. For this one, Vin had 11 orders. He used his commander reroll to give him that. He rolled what?
I rolled, I think,
4, right? 2 2s? Yeah, so he had 2 2s. He ended up rolling 1 and got a 6. So that helped him, get 8 orders plus his officers. So for this one, Vin pushed up pretty heavy. As you can see over here, a lot of the armor came up to the edge on this side. Tons of fire came down in here from those Panzer IIs, as well as that Panzer III, and then some small arms fire from the machine gun and rifle teams there. They were able to only pluck 1 wound off of the anti-tank rifle team. They're not pinned though, so I was able to stick around with last man standing still. And then the rifle team, they took some fire as well, but that reinforced cover from those foxholes, that kept me in the fight pretty good, so that was solid over there. Down over here, Vin ended up trying to pop out with his MG34 team to get some pinning shots off. The Maxim machine gun that was there was able to pin that MG34 team. Then after that move, Vin took the rifle squad that was there, pushed him into the woods here, and they were able to do 2 wounds on my Maxim team, and then I failed the morale test, so they ended up getting pinned. Last man standing, they ended up breaking. I had to pull a chit for that one over there. So that's kind of what happened over here. Back on this side, Vin ended up pushing up those 2 Panzer IIIs on the flank over there, and then with the mortar bombardment, Vin tried to spot in over here, but it scattered. It would have been 1 on him and then 1 on my field gun, so Vin waved off the spotter round. So that's really all that happened here for the top of turn 3. We'll be back for the Reds. I got some reserves coming in. See how that plays out. See you guys in a second. So we are back for bottom of turn 3 here. As you guys can see, I actually had a pretty good turn here as far as reserves go. I got, what, like 5 reserves that came in, and then I ended up rolling 10 orders.
Yeah.
So it came together pretty well. So as you can see, I brought in the 2 T-28s on this flank down here. They're going to be supported by that infantry that kind of pushed up around the train to get onto the table. To get over the rails here, I ended up, I rolled a 6 and a 1, so they both got kind of hung up over here, so maybe next turn we can actually get them over the railway. That was unfortunate. Up over here, rifle team, I ended up putting them in ambush. The anti-tank rifle, they're staying in ambush. Like I said, these guys pushed up over here. With the anti-infantry gun, just the infantry gun, fired 2 shots into that rifle team there. I failed to pin him with the HE round, and then I failed to even hit him with a direct fire HE round, so that was kind of unfortunate. With the mortars, I tried to drop down over here. I can kind of get an angle from my spotter, who's placed right over there, but unfortunately I rolled a 3 on my comms test. With the reds, you got communication breakdown, so I needed a 4, so unfortunately no mortars went off this turn. Then down over here, come around the table on this side, a little easier to see. I had my Ziz with the 45 come in, so they drove in from here. I ended up dropping the gun off there, tried to fire 2 shots downrange at the Panzer IIIs, failed that. As you guys can see, the land battleship right here, he came in over here. I was able to drive over the hill. I rolled, what, double ones. I moved them twice. I rolled double ones to kind of get through the wooded hill right here, so I was able to move the 10 inches up and park them right there. These guys are staying where they're at in ambush. Mortars obviously couldn't fire, so they're kind of just hanging out. That's what we're looking at for my turn. I think all I have left in reserve is platoon command, 1 rifle team, and then my forward HQ right there. So that's all we got left for the Reds. We'll be back for the top of turn 4. So we are back for top of turn 5, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Top of turn 5 for Vin here. And then, no, I'm sorry, no, it's only top of turn 4. Top of turn 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, top of turn 4. So for this turn, Vin ended up getting, what is it, 8 orders?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, but plus officers and stuff like that. I think he was up to like 11 or 12. For Vin, he had the Ju-87 timed airstrike. As you can see, things didn't go that well for me. So Vin, his large bomb was a direct hit, ended up blowing up my T-28. Then there was a couple pin attempts, failed to pin this T-28, but he did pin my infantry over here with these small bombs. So pretty effective as far as them coming in and dropping that. Over here, as you can see, the anti-tank rifle team is out. I fired 2 shots down. I didn't even fail to hit them, I think. I missed twice, so they returned fire up there. They were trying to pin. I failed my cover save with a 1. So that was the end of the PTRD team, so I had to pull a chit. I had to pull a bunch of chits. I had to pull 2 chits for the explosion, and then for the airstrike, the first time for the airstrike, and then for that, 3 chits I had to pull on this flank over here. These guys fared much better. There was fire from all 3 of those Panzer IIs, as well as the MG34 team and the rifle teams there, trying to pin these guys down, try to kill them or whatever. I only lost 1 guy, and they're still standing strong there, so that's pretty huge for them. Back up over here, as you can see, my anti-infantry gun got plucked out of here. Vin's rifle teams, they were able to actually kill those guys. I think, you killed 2. I was down to my last man, but they ended up just abandoning the gun. Or no, Vin killed 1 guy, and then on my morale test, I ended up abandoning the gun and leaving the field. So that's the end of the 76 millimeter anti-infantry gun. But with that shit, I pulled confusion. Vin rolled a 2 on his morale test, or a 1 on his morale test, so they're confused up there. Vin then tried to fire down with his other Panzer III into the land battleship, but failed to do any damage down there as well. As far as the mortars go, Vin had 2 mortar opportunities, rolled double 1s, so no incoming mortar fire from over here. At the end of the turn, Vin did pull a chit. He rolled a 3, so he unpinned. They're no longer pinned. I just left the confusion on as a reminder. And then he unpinned both of his half tracks here, or his 1 half track and his MG34. That's there as well. So everybody's back in action, going into the bottom of turn 4. I got a couple reserves again on the table, but I think I'm going to need to make a splash here with the tanks I got left, or I can get overrun pretty easily. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 4. So this turn, just kind of pushing up a little bit over here. I ended up getting all my remaining reserves on the table. I think I had 10 orders in all. So first off, I ended up dropping mortar bombardment here. I got the comms test to pass, and I was able to only pin this rifle team in the woods right there, which was kind of the point of it, but it went pretty good, but I failed to pin anything else, which is kind of unfortunate. Down over here, I kept these guys' heads down and ambush, kind of waiting for that infantry to pop up. For this T-28 down here, I got him off the rails, but I didn't get him pushed up far enough around the hill to get a shot at those Panzer IIs, so instead I took a wonder shot out there at the half track. I observed him, but I ended up failing to hit. My platoon command that was down here right now, I pushed him up and tried to give him a little bit of cover there behind the rail line. Up over here, that rifle team that was an ambush, I just ended up peeling the ambush off, and I just fired twice down, and I ended up pinning the MG-34 team. So the infantry over here is pinned, which is pretty big right now. These guys were pinned, so I couldn't do anything with them. The land battleship, terrible. So I ended up opening fire, rolled double ones on both observes to hit the command tank that was out front. Then I ended up passing my open fire order, the loader team, the multi-turret rule. So I got a third shot, but I failed to hit as well. So that was just a giant whiff. But the 45 mil down here kind of salvaged something. I was able to pin that Panzer III right there next to the hayfield, which was pretty big. Then as far as moving goes, I brought my infantry in command, forward command team from over here. They've now populated the train station building right there. I'm still waiting to see what can happen with them going to the next turn. I was thinking about pulling the chit to maybe unpin these guys, but it's not really worth it at this point. We might hold off a little bit and see how things play out. So we'll be back in a second for the top of turn 5 for the Jerrys. A lot of armor pushing up on this flank. We'll see how it goes. I have no idea how this is going to play out. It'll be interesting, so we'll be back in a flash. We're back for the top of turn 5, and
Dice Gods just crapped all over me.
So good. So Vin rolled snake eyes for his orders. He only had 3 officers on the table, so that gave him 5 dice. He doesn't have the reroll, used it earlier in the game. So Vin started off his command tank to fire twice down at the T-35 over there, failed to do anything. Then over here, Vin pushed up his 1 Panzer II. I had the ambush, so I just took a shot in the dark, tried to pin him. I ended up pinning him since there's nobody within 10 inches as far as support for armor goes. He's out, so that's the end of that. Then down over here, Vin pushed up these 2 tanks, tried to open fire, and they ended up killing 1 guy with 20mm fire for there, but I passed my morale, so they're still staying strong. And then Vin pushed up the Panzer III to across the road right here to shoot at my infantry, and he rolled a 1 the spot. So these guys are kind of just hanging out in the wind as well. That was all 5 of his orders. So hopefully I could do something here to capitalize and get back in this game, maybe do a little bit of damage. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 5 for the Reds. So we are back for bottom of turn 5 for the Reds. Pretty good turn here. I ended up getting 8 orders. Things worked out pretty well with these. So I was able to push up my T-28 over here, and it was enough to pin over here. I got a direct hit, but I failed to penetrate. But I did pin the Panzer II. No infantry in range, so they ended up jumping out. That's the end of that one. So they lost 2 Panzer IIs because they're getting pinned down with no infantry support. These guys here, I fired down twice trying to get another one of those situations, but I failed to get the 6 that I needed. Platoon command that was behind the train, I pushed them up to the back of the hill over here. These guys are still just left out, unfortunately. The infantry squad that was in there, they came out the door and they're pushing in here to help support the supply depot over there. With the spotter, I tried to drop another one in here, failed my comms test, so I just ended up holding off and not doing anything. With the T-35, I was able to fire down range, and I was able to get 1 hit on the command Panzer III. failed to penetrate, but it was enough to pin him. So that was both those Panzer IIIs are pinned over there. With the 45 that I got tucked over there, I fired 2 more pinning shots downrange, but failed to do anything. I missed on both of those. And then finally, with that rifle team on the hilltop, I fired down on the MG34 over here again. I was able to kill one of the guys, but then ended up passing. No, you failed your morale, but they were already pinned, so it didn't matter. So that's what we're looking at right now. We got a whole bunch of pinned units over here. This flank, I thought was going to fold, but it's back up in the air. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 6. See how this thing plays out. So we're here for the top of turn 6 for the Jerry's. Vin's pushing up, and he's pushing up aggressive. So we ended up pushing up point-blank range with the Panzer II, trying to get a pin there, failed to do so. Up over here with the Panzer III, Vin fired down and completely wiped out that infantry team there, but I did pull a chit. The chit was air attack, so hopefully I can make that pay off next turn. Just a reminder as well, Vin only rolled 6 orders this turn. He rolled a 1 and a 2, and then he had his 3 officers on the table, so sweet. Then Vin took his half-track that was loaded up over here. They're still fully loaded. He swung them around and got them out to the road on this side. Vin's platoon command half-track that was here, he pushed up to the middle of the road over there. And then Vin, at the end of his turn... Oh, and Vin dropped a mortar as well up here that scattered back. Vin failed to do any kind of damage as far as pinning or anything over there. And then Vin pulled a chit at the end of the turn, and now he has all of his units unpinned on the table. So things can get a little hectic here. We'll see how it plays out. Be back in a second for the bottom of turn 6. Hopefully we can get that plane in. So see you guys in a second. We are back for bottom of turn 6. The Reds are holding, man. We're doing all right. So for this turn, I'm getting 8 orders. 8 orders. So for this one, of course, these guys have held this hill like just heroes. So they ended up firing down. We ended up pinning another Panzer. Nobody within 10 inches. So these guys ended up surrendering as well. We pushed up the T-28 to here. Tried to fire some machine gun fire down into that 4-man rifle squad, but failed to observe over there. Back on this side, we had the mortars that we ended up dropping in. So we dropped our mortars here. They scattered back, but my dice were good enough to pin 2 of the half tracks. This one, remember, is loaded with a whole bunch of people in it. Then back over there with that rifle team on the hill, I fired down, tried to pin Vin's MG34 team, and I did, and then Vin rolled a 6 for the save, so they ended up being A-OK. Then back between the 45 mil and then the T-35 that are over there, I fired a bunch of shots down here. Nothing happened in it at all. I couldn't hit anything, I couldn't pin anything, so that kind of just played out as is. That's really all that happened here for the bottom of turn 6. Like I said, we ended up stunting this flank pretty well, but you know, the middle still contested. We'll see how it goes. So we'll be back for top of turn 7. We are back for the top of turn 7. Risks have been taken. Risks have been taken. Vin ended up getting like 8 orders this turn. So to start it off, Vin ended up pushing up his platoon command half-track from over there. Decided to take a chance, moved up to here, dismounted, tried to tank assault. Vin ended up rolling a 4. I think he took 1 casualty, failed morale, they were pinned. Vin did pull a chit at the end of the turn to unpin 3 units. Vin then took these guys, he pushed them out of the woods, up across the street, tried to pin these guys here, failed to do so. The Panzer III pushed up around the corner here, failed to observe these guys over here. So yeah, not a lot happening on this side over there. With Vin's mortar, he used his 222 back there to spot, tried to drop the round here, got a wild scatter, which would have sent it back there. Vin ended up calling off the mortar round. Back over there, between the 2 Panzer IIIs, they were able to get a couple hits down there. I passed a couple morale tests, but then Vin rolled double 1, so that they're immobilized over there, which is kind of unfortunate, but I guess it's better than getting blown up. And that's really all that kind of happened right now. So we're going in the back, bottom of turn 7. Vin's starting to flood this time to the table again, pushing over here. So we'll kind of see if Vin's able to take that middle. If he's able to take the warehouse in the middle, he's going to be able to cut me in half, and that could be bad news. So we'll be back in a second, see how this plays out. Bottom of turn 7 for the Reds. We're back for bottom of turn 7, looking at the heroes of the Red Army. So, so as we hold this hill, at the top of the turn, I ended up getting, I think, like 10 orders or something like that. So to start it off up here, we fired down some rifle fire. I was able to kill Vin's platoon right there to a man with small arms fire. Then with my T-28, I tried to shoot Vin's half-track twice. Missed twice. Then I ended up passing the multi-turret, and I was able to blow him up and kill him on my last turn. So we've neutralized this flank right here pretty well. Back on this side, I had my platoon command there. With that Panzer III staring them down, I decided to just kind of run back and get behind the train. That's a fight we're not going to win. Back up in here in the fort, the supply depot, I was there. I pushed up to here to get a little bit closer range on Vin over here. I did some small arms fire. I was able to kill 3 guys and pin that unit. Then with my commander, I tried dropping mortars down here. Once again, failed the comms test. Then that T-35, the most worthless thing on the table.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So I needed 4s to hit Vin's command Panzer III over there. I rolled double 1s, then I ended up passing my multi-turret rule, rolled another 1 after that to hit, so 3 1s to get shots on target. That just blow this thing up already. With the rifle team that was in here, I was able to do some small arms fire and actually hit Vin's MG-34 team that was down there and killed them to a man. I'm trying to think what else happened. Oh yeah, and then the 45 that I have down here, I was able to fire down and pin Vin's Panzer III back here. So overall, pretty effective turn as far as firing goes outside of that T-35. But it looks like the line is being held right now, but Vin still has enough stuff on the table to make a push. There's still some armor here that he can push up and make a play with. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 8. We are back for top of turn 8. Vin ended up running Snake Eyes again for his orders. So Vin just decided to make a push. He drove up his half-track, unloaded 3 units here. First assault did not go Vin's way. He ended up losing 4 out of his 6 guys. I didn't lose anybody. But then Vin jumped out with...
Go back, because you made...
Oh, I made 5 saves. Yeah, I made... It's the Red Army, man.
It wasn't bad dice.
We do it for Comrade Brother Stalin. So then Vin jumped out the MG-42 and then the MG-34 and then just opened up, and it was enough to kill 4 guys out of the team and pin them down there. But like I said, we're still holding on in the middle over here. Then what did you do? That was literally your turn, right? Yeah, that's all that happened here. So we're going back into the bottom of turn 8, kind of make another push on that objective over there, kind of hold the line. So we will be back in a flash. Red Army coming to save the day. This damn corner of the table. So over here, I ended up getting 6 orders this turn, and as you can see, things did not go super well. So with this turn, I started off, I used this rifle squad here, small arms fire, was able to actually pluck out and kill Vin's guys on the road. Vin then pulled a breakdown shit, rolled a 6, and blew up my T-28. This is just a graveyard over here. This is absolutely disgusting. With another one of my orders, I used this rifle team up here to fire down, and I killed one of Vin's guys in the building down here. Last man left. Vin passed his pinning check, so they're okay and still in the fight. Then I used my command team to drop a mortar I could see through all the openings in the building. Here, ended up rolling a wild scatter, went back 16 inches, but it was enough to pin Vin's medic and the half-track here. Vin's medic, he was left on his own, so one-man team, and then that was kind of the end of that, so he ended up breaking off his pinned with last man standing. So that's what happened there. Freaking T-35 again. Failed to do anything. I got 2 hits this time, but I needed I think 10s at this distance to do anything. I had 2 shots that bounced and passed both morale checks, and then with the 45 I fired 2 more shots at the command tank but failed to do anything with that. And then back here, the platoon command that was here, I pushed him back down the rail line over here a little bit further to kind of support that side of the table a little bit better. So that's what we're looking at right now for bottom of turn 8. We'll be back in a second for top of turn 9 for the Germans. I know both of us are probably pretty low with some battle rating right now. I think it's just a matter of who soaks up the least amount of casualties over the next couple turns. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 9 for Vin. Pretty good turn here. Vin got aggressive and it ended up paying off. So Vin, between some small arms fire from that MG that was on the tripod, so I have to wipe these guys out to a man. So I lost them. I also lost the objective, so I had to pull double chits for that, which is pretty huge. Then Vin also kind of took a little bit of cover here with that guy, with the MG34 team on the bipod. He moved them up. They had a clean shot trying to pin that rifle team, but failed to do so. Vin also with the command Panzer III over there, it was enough to pin down my T-35, so they're pinned and immobilized. Vin also dropped a mortar here that scattered only 4 inches. It was enough to pin my anti-tank on this flank as well, so that's pretty unfortunate. Then back over here, I think I said this before, Vin fired 2 HE shots over here, but failed to do anything. I think, what, you failed to observe twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Vin pushed up with his 222 to this position, and then the half track that was there, Vin ended up pulling him back. He's probably going to be a little closer because you pulled him around. You have to put him in reverse. So yeah, he'll move back probably to somewhere. We'll just move him here for argument's sake. Yeah. And that's where he'll end up being right now. So that's what we're looking at for top of turn 9. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 9. Gotta return the favor, man. Gotta return the favor. We'll see what we're gonna do. I think mortar's danger close. Mortar's danger close. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so we'll be back in a flash. Bottom turn 9. So we are back for bottom of turn 9. Big dice rolls for Vin on this one. Pretty big. So I ended up pulling back that Jeep that was over there. And then with a bunch of small arms fire coming from that rifle team up there, I moved the mortar teams. I broke them down, just used them as riflemen for this turn. And then these guys over here, bunch of small arms fire. It was enough to knock them down to 1. Vin passed his pin test, so he was in pretty good shape. And then over here, Vin made 5 saves, I think, in all to keep this guy alive as well. So they're both 2 squads that are down to 1 man each. But like I said, they're looking pretty good right now. My mortars, I was going to drop one in here, danger close, failed the comms test. That's why I moved those guys up to shoot. But that's what we're looking at. And I moved platoon command into here. So I got 2 guys in this building. Lots of infantry and small arms fire left. We'll see how this plays out going into the top of turn 10. Someone's got to be breaking soon, man. It's got to be close. So we'll see how this thing plays out. So close. So close to breaking. So on this turn, Vin had how many orders? 7?
Yeah.
7 orders. So Vin ended up opening up with the Panzer III right there. Was able to kill a handful of guys. I passed my Beyond the Call of Duty test, though, so they were in pretty good shape. Fired down. I failed to kill anybody from there. So that was kind of the sequence of events that happened over here. Like I said, they're down to 3, but they're not pinned, and they're still in the fight. Vin returned fire, was able to kill one of the guys on the mortar team and pin them. Then Vin pushed up the Panzer III to get a little bit closer shot, and he failed to hit the T-35 that's over there. Like I said, and then a bunch of small arms fire from here. Well, that's all you really did, right? Oh yeah, and then down here, Vin opened up with these guys as well to try to get some shots, but failed to observe on 4 rolls in a row, which is pretty big. So we're going in the bottom of turn 9. There's not a lot left on the table here. This is going to be big time. We're going to see how this plays out. So we'll be back in a flash. Bottom of turn 9, Red Army. Let's see how it goes. We are back for bottom of turn 9. The red banner is waving. The supply train is loaded. We're sending everything back to Kiev to enforce our secondary lines. So we end up getting 12 or 13 orders, but for this turn, between small arms fire from this rifle team, platoon command, and our forward HQ was enough to take out 2 of these here for Vin. First guy that went down, Vin ended up pulling another breakdown shit and immobilized that T-35 again for the second time. And then the second round of small arms fire, Vin had to pull a shit, and it was enough to break his battle rating. So Vin ended up losing. Germans folded on this one. I only had 1 battle rating left. I was literally 1 casualty away from calling it quits. So this was like super close bottom of turn 9. We'll be back in a second to kind of go over the end game recap about how this played out and what we were thinking. All right, so we're back for the end of game recap. I'll just kind of go over how it played out for myself, then I'll pass it over to Vin. But yeah, this one overall was pretty good. Vin got super aggressive, and I think that might have cost him a little bit, but I'll kind of go over my defensive plan first, which really wasn't too mind-blowing, but it was what it was. We had so we had the three defensive positions I had to hold, which was the hill, the factory, and then the secondary hill over there. My thought was not so much to let this be the lightest defended area, but the thought was, since I had the train here, I wasn't gonna be able to really push in that way. So my thought was, if I say thought one more time, to defend both of the flanks, both of the hills here with infantry and tanks, and if I needed to, I could have wheeled in support from either of the flanks over there to kind of lend a little help to the middle. But the way things played out with the tanks early on, that kind of killed me. I mean, getting the Ju-87 to blow this guy up, and then him over here getting hung up early, and maybe go to this side, which panned out. It worked pretty well, but it wasn't, exactly what I wanted. But these guys holding this hill here was huge. They took so much small arms fire and then shots from tanks and the 20 millimeters from those Panzer IIs, and they hung in there. They were awesome. Getting that unit over here as well pinned down before I can get them into the building, that was pretty rough. I thought that was going to be the beginning of the end as far as the way things played out. That hill over there, that fortified, and actually covered what I thought I was going to do. I wanted to get them to cover that road crossing there and then also cover some support fire into the building if need be, and they did exactly what I wanted them to do. But that T-35 was absolutely worthless this game. Vin, how many times did I roll a 1?
Oh, God.
It must seriously.
Every turn?
It was probably close to 6 or 7 times. I rolled a 1 just to try to hit Vin on a straight 4 because we were firing back and forth. There was no observing, so that didn't work out too well. And having the mortars with communication breakdown, just going from a 3 to a 4, it's so tough, man. I rolled.
I didn't realize how painful that.
Yeah,
actually was
I rolled a
watching
bunch of 3s, but I need a 4 for those comms tests. So yeah, those mortars didn't zero in half the time. But when they did, they were pretty effective. They pinned a bunch of stuff. I wasn't able to kill anything, but they were pretty good on there. But yeah, this is where I got worried down here. Was when Vince started pushing up all those Panzers, even without the infantry support. It was more luck on my part, because I rolled a bunch of 6s with these guys, and then Vin rolled a bunch of 1s with no infantry support anywhere near, so he just had to abandon. Literally every one of those tanks was a roll of a 1 for the pinning test, the morale test, and that no infantry support, they're just pinned. I think that's the end of it. So that ended up
mistake.
Yeah, you blew it. So yeah, that ended up happening down here, and then I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as how you push the actions? I literally thought this was yours once we got into turns 5 and 6. It was pressure was on.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt the same way. Everything was actually going perfect. I baited a lot of this was my main goal, was to come up here and sweep up.
Yeah, that's what I figured once I saw the wave of armor coming in there.
I was like, all right, get here, force you to bring some tanks from reserve to back them up. Launch the J-87, which worked.
Which hit. That was beautiful.
So that worked out fantastic. Because I remember when I actually put down the actual attack, Joe was like, oh, you're hitting the middle building. And I was like, nah.
That's what I thought. I was like, man, this is going to get blown to hell. And then, no, I mean, when you dropped it there, I was like, oh, that's not going to be good.
Yeah, it
really wasn't.
That helped a lot with that initial push coming up, but these guys right here just...
Yeah, they stuck in, man.
They took so many shots.
Just
based on numbers, the dice numbers, they should have been dead turn 5 with the amount of shots.
Yeah, the amount of fire that you sent down range on those guys. Just getting that 3-up save from foxholes... That helped a lot. I mean, it really, going from a 4 to a 3 was huge. But yeah, the way the dice were falling for this particular squad, this was the story of the game. These guys were just heroes. They were absolutely fantastic.
Because I think if I would have taken that out, it just would have been
it would have been lights
clean.
Out. Yeah, it would have been lights out. Because I would have had to push all the way across the table, take the middle again, and then it would have been tough. Because like I said, you had those Panzer IIIs pushing up there that could have boxed me into the corner. And then you had enough infantry moving in there with armor coming up over here. That would have been lights out if you would have taken this early on, because I didn't have enough to stunt your advance if this would have fell early.
Yeah, and another thing I was doing too with the middle, the reason I sent the 2 half tracks with the tank support coming in is I really wanted to push both at the same time.
Oh,
so they could support each other.
Yeah,
the support you had was coming from the top, which worked out great, but just those 3 turns with what was it, 5 orders, 4 orders.
Oh, so
6
good.
orders. So I was
That
like,
was so good.
like everything I had planned for those turns, I was just like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, this was we haven't played in like 4 or 5 months, I think.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
been a
like yeah,
while.
just haven't had time to play it, just with life in general. But yeah, so we're back at it though. This is a pretty fun game to jump back in. Like I said, being down to 1 battle rating and then being able to hang in there. But we'll do a little more early war, unless you guys want to see some paratroopers or some late war stuff. We can do Fall of the Reich as well, just or Market Garden, whatever. Just to kind of let us know. We got a mix of stuff so we can kind of play whatever. So just like, subscribe, leave some comments down there. Let us know what you guys want to see, or if you want to keep seeing early war on the Eastern Front, we can do that. Maybe even some more themed battle reports, and continue doing it that way. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.